Overwatch, it's not looking good. Marvel Rivals, the game everyone is talking about at the moment, has just released a new Spring Festival patch. Combined with the release of new Chinese New Year themed skins, they have also introduced a new fun game mode for us players to enjoy. But what I'm really missing at this point is Overwatch's response. Certainly, you could argue that the new game modes we've gotten from Marvel Rivals are not the most revolutionary types of game modes in the first place. Jeff's Winter Festival being a Splatoon-like mode, while the new football game mode being quite similar to Rocket League. But what is going on at Blizzard right now? A new competitor just came to the market and completely dominates a genre which tightly belonged to Overwatch for the longest time. Blizzard released a sequel that really nobody asked for, overpromising on many features that didn't make it into the final game at the very end. I absolutely adore Marvel Rivals right now, and the game getting new content is a big win for me as a player. But the lack of a proper response from Blizzard to their new competitor is a bit worrisome. It's safe to say that the current 2025 version of Blizzard is nothing like the old Blizzard anymore, back when everyone considered Blizzard to be an untouchable juggernaut in the industry. Because let's face it, looking at the current state of Overwatch 2, the game wasn't an upgrade for the players in any form. The only upgrade Overwatch 2 had, the monetization system. They completely removed leveling rewards, making it almost impossible to unlock the already existing skins by just playing the game. They've added a battle pass, locking the new hero behind it, forcing players to either spend money or quite a lot of time grinding to try out a new hero, although they did change this after much deserved backlash. The game shifted their focus to a more wallet-oriented design than a player-oriented design, a strategy that only tends to work out when your game is in its glory days. It's a pattern we see many times in the most successful games in the market, like World of Warcraft for MMORPGs or League of Legends for MOBAs. These games can afford to do these kinds of strategies to milk their player base, as there are no better alternatives, or to be more precise, no better alternative worth switching to, that would affect their player numbers in any significant shape or form. But that is not the case when your competitor is on the scale of Marvel Rivals. Overwatch needed to be more aware of their competitors, even when they were still at the very top of the food chain. Blizzard needed to do a lot more, releasing more significant changes and gameplay content that would dissuade their players from trying out their new competitor in the first place. But their arrogance and past successes led them to believe themselves to be unstoppable, never even considering the possibility of being dethroned at any point in time. It's hard to understand how the best response the Overwatch team can come up with is to release more skins for players to buy with their hard-earned money compared to Marvel Rivals releasing actual new gameplay content for the player base to enjoy. But is there even anything Overwatch can even do at this point to improve upon their situation? Overwatch is in quite a difficult spot at the moment. Not only do they have to compete for their players against the big threat that is Marvel Rivals, they also need to expend a lot of effort into repairing the broken trust of their own community. Shoehorned changes, undelivered features, and the abandonment of the original Overwatch led to a sequel that nobody except Blizzard themselves wanted. The amount of badwill Blizzard managed to accumulate around the release of Overwatch 2 will lead to every decision and change they make being looked at with much deserved skepticism. The accumulated badwill, however, is not something that is exclusive to Overwatch at this point. It's a company-wide issue. World of Warcraft Shadowlands, Warcraft 3 Reforged, and Diablo 4, all these games have done considerable damage to Blizzard's reputation. One thing the development teams need to realize at this point is that unlike 2016, the name Blizzard doesn't hold much weight anymore compared to back then. The decade of trust they managed to establish with their beloved franchises and high-quality games has slowly disintegrated over time with their continued series of disappointing releases and mismanaged live services. Blizzard got away with a lot of bad decisions, simply because of their dominant position in the market. These bad decisions have continuously piled up over time, now with rising competitors to their beloved games. Time simply has come for them to pay for their long overdue mistakes. It's clear that now with competitors like Path of Exile 2 and Marvel Rivals, it's time for Blizzard to change or the future will be quite bleak. Now back to Overwatch though. As a simple player of the game, I can't really tell them the miracle solution to all their issues, but we players, we are pretty good at seeing issues, mostly the ones that directly affect our enjoyment of the game. Like how the game just got a new update. Surely they must have added new gameplay content now that Marvel Rivals is breathing down their neck, right? The new content? New cosmetics. Oh look, Maximilian's Vault. And it's just another way for players to spend money on. Like seriously, Blizzard. Where's the actual content at? To be fair, Marvel Rivals also released new character skins at the same time, but they also released a new game mode. Actual new gameplay content. This is just a classic example of them doing their wallet-driven design strategy, even though this is the worst time to continue doing so. Like seriously, Blizzard. What are you doing? You are not at the top of the hero shooter genre anymore. Is this really the only thing you can think of? Trying to pass off useless cosmetics for players to spend their money on as new content? This seriously feels like the kind of update for one of those games on their very last legs, trying to milk the most out of their remaining player base before announcing end of service and shutting down. It's just pathetic. But Blizzard dealing with issues in the most Blizzard-like fashion is nothing new at this point. Like how they handled player feedback over the course of Overwatch 2. The most egregious examples being the shoehorned changes from being a 6v6 game into a 5v5 one. Blizzard, unable to admit how badly they messed up the hero balance and team compositions to shoehorn the 5v5 format into Overwatch 2, spent the better part of the game's lifespan gaslighting the community into believing that 5v5 was just a better mode and the future of Overwatch, just to come crawling back now with the experimental 6v6 mode. The classic Blizzard case of
you think you do, but you don't.
The community back then gave their feedback accordingly, and were proven to be right at the end of the day, with them actually considering reverting it back now. Yeah, just a few years too late at this point. A simple case of Overwatch devs being unwilling to accept the sad reality that the major change was completely unnecessary and even damaging to the game, as they otherwise wouldn't have anything else to show for the years of work spent on the sequel, out of Overwatch and Marvel Rivals. Overwatch is the more complete game at the end of the day still, which should surprise no one as Overwatch already has 8 years worth of content at this point. Overwatch in a vacuum is a really solid game, and it would be unfair to pretend otherwise. The hero designs are still fantastic. The attention to detail on the maps are amazing. It even has custom modes allowing players to create their own type of fun content. The foundation Overwatch is built on to this day still has the amazing polish of the good old Blizzard. The game's issues lie not in its foundation or the type of game it is. It lies solely in the lack of creativity of its developers. The lack of creativity that led the Overwatch lore to completely rot in the basement, letting clueless people just randomly assign nonsensical ages to beloved heroes. The lack of creativity leading them to design battle pass after battle pass, microtransactions after microtransactions, trying to pass them off as new content. The lack of creativity that led them to release a sequel without the promised PvE mode, subsequently cancelling it down the line. The very same lack of creativity that led them to just going completely dark and cease development on the original game for 2 years, just to ultimately have nothing to show for it with their redefinition of a sequel. Overwatch at this point seriously would have been better if they just kept their own selfish desire for a sequel to themselves instead of putting the community through this kind of nonsense. At this point, the Overwatch devs really need to pull themselves out of their delusion. Overwatch is not at the top of its genre anymore. It's facing serious competitions in the form of Marvel Rivals. It's abundantly clear to everyone, except somehow the devs themselves, that changes are in order. Changes that reawaken the interest in the Overwatch IP again. Changes that actually make players want to go back and try out the game again. And it's clear that new microtransactions are not the content people look forward to. Those kind of changes just lead to the community to completely clown on the game, especially since the direct competitor certainly treats their players better right now. Is a complete rework now necessary for Overwatch to attract attention again though? I don't know. It's up to Blizzard to find that out themselves. Maybe the solution to Overwatch 2 isn't Overwatch 3, because that's just Marvel Rivals. Maybe it's just Overwatch. The number 2 just breeds so much resentment and negativity in the community at this point, constantly reminding us of what could have been versus what we actually got. Resentment over the things we had in the past that are now gone for no good reason. Resentment for the kind of game we could have had if Overwatch 2 actually released as advertised. Given the current version of Blizzard, a change and return to greatness in the form of No Man's Sky or Cyberpunk 2077 seems rather unlikely. Although they are welcome to prove me wrong on that, my dear hope for Overwatch at this point is that the devs will finally learn from all their mistakes and draw the correct conclusions. Now that Marvel Rivals has ignited a fire under their asses, they hopefully recognize their current position in the market and act accordingly. Because now, it's do or die time. And this time, Blizzard, you are not the king defending their throne atop of Ice Crown Citadel anymore. This time, you are the underdog. That's it for this video, and if you enjoyed the content, please consider supporting the channel by subscribing or leaving a like. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.